In the last 4 years, we've had 7 volcanic eruptions in Reykjanes Peninsula, and this is likely not over. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Anna Radacz, and in today's video we're going to talk about how it all started, describe every eruption and compare them, and in the end we'll speculate about the possible future for the region. Iceland is famously called the land of ice and fire, and rightfully so. On an island with a population of 400,000 people, there are 269 named glaciers that cover about 11% of the land, and 32 active volcanoes. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge and expands about 2 centimeters a year, as the North American and Eurasian plates are slowly drifting apart. This movement causes seismic activity alongside the rift. In the Reykjanes Peninsula, one of the most populated regions of the country, there are 6 active volcanic systems. After 815 years of silence in Reykjanes Peninsula, something started to change. Beginning in December 2019, a swarm of earthquakes shook the area. Most of them were minor, with the exception of 2 bigger 5.6 magnitude earthquakes. But growing concerns were caused by the sheer amount of them, some days reaching thousands of earthquakes. In the last 3 weeks before the eruption, 40,000 earthquakes were recorded. We could feel the stronger ones in Reykjavik, especially in higher buildings. But even on the ground floor, I experienced the earthquake so strong that for a few seconds paintings on the wall trembled. Some people were quite scared. Some offices sent employees home because on the higher floors the earthquakes were too intense. But the majority of people were rather excited and looking forward to the eruption. General public knew that the possible eruption will most likely be small and safe. It won't disrupt the flights, and the probable location won't pose any danger to people and their livelihood. The swarm of earthquakes continued for over a year, and some people got tired of waiting, thinking that the eruption won't happen at all. Eventually we got used to the constant shaking and from time to time being woken up by an earthquake. I remember the anticipation, as it seemed like the eruption would happen at any moment. And then it got quiet again, for 3 days. It was calm before the storm. On Friday evening, 19th of March 2021, the eruption started near Mount Fagradalsfjall in Geldingadalur Valley. It was quickly called tourist eruption, a term used by Icelanders to describe an eruption that is easily accessible and doesn't pose any danger. Of course, there's always some danger when you visit an active volcano, but we tend to rely on people's common sense not to get too close, not to walk on lava, etc. Nobody got seriously hurt during the 6 months long eruption. The next day, thousands of people went to see the active volcano. I was one of them. We didn't care for the strong wind and cold rain, about 8 kilometers hike one way. In fact, there was no path and we had to walk on rough, bare rocks. We thought it was once-in-a-lifetime experience, little that we knew. It is estimated that 400,000 people have visited the ongoing eruption. In the beginning, the tiny crater was producing a small amount of lava, so you were able to see it from few meters away. Seeing an active volcano with your own eyes is simply breathtaking. The glowing orange color of the fresh lava, big chunks thrown from the crater that look like they're falling down in slow motion, the wet low sound of boiling lava, the sulfuric smell, the radiating heat. That was an unforgettable experience. In the beginning, it was a 700-meter-long fissure, quickly forming a vent. In the next 3 weeks, several new fissures opened at the eruption site, each forming an individual vent. At one point, 6 vents were erupting simultaneously. By the end of April, only one vent remained active and developed into a volcano, reaching a height of 334 meters. For a short time, the volcano got a nickname Lava Geyser, as it was shooting fountains of lava 300 meters up to the sky. Lava fountains were visible from Reykjavik, located 40 kilometers away. The highest measured fountain was 460 meters. The volcano remained unusually active near the end of June, and after that a long period of inactivity occurred between eruptions. The eruption stopped 18th of September, after 181 days, and became the longest eruption of the 21st century in Iceland. The amount of produced lava is estimated at 151 million cubic meters, covering an area of 4.8 kilometers square. Active volcano instantly became a major tourist attraction in Iceland. Authorities set up cameras around the eruption and started streaming in real time. Several tour operators offered guided tours, transport by buses and helicopter tours. Food trucks and toilets were quickly set up at the newly made parking lots. Several parking lots needed to be made to keep up with the amount of visitors. Search and rescue team with authorities were monitoring the area carefully, closing it when the amount of gases posed any danger. New paths were created and routes were changing according to the lava flow. Getting as close as we were on the second day became impossible very quickly. Lava filled up the Geldingadalir Valley and flowed into Meradalir and Nautagi valleys. After about 10 months of silence, it happened all over again on 3rd of August 2022. The same pattern occurred. The swarm of 10,000 earthquakes, though it lasted only for a month, preceded an eruption in Meradalir Valley, beneath the lava from the previous eruption. It quickly formed a vent, bigger than the previous one and producing way more lava. The flow rate was about 32 cubic meters per second during the initial hours of the eruption, and then it slowed down roughly by half. It was estimated that the lava flow was 5 times bigger than the previous eruption. Almost 2,000 people visited the volcano on the first day, and hundreds continued to hike every day the site was open. The eruption lasted for 3 weeks. The best and safest view was possible from a nearby hill. The volcano stopped on 21st of August 2022 and produced 12 million cubic meters of lava, covering the old lava in Meradalir Valley from the previous year. Another 10 months went by, and the cycle continued. 12,000 earthquakes were recorded, and following a 5.2 magnitude earthquake, the volcano near Litlihrutur erupted on 10th of July 2023. From the beginning we knew that this was the strongest eruption in the area so far. The lava flow in the initial hours reached 50 cubic meters per second. It was estimated that the volcano was 10 times stronger than the first one. Quickly formed cone was growing in height by around 3 meters a day. Lava caused one of the largest most wildfires in the country. That increased respiratory risks for hikers. Also, the path to the volcano was significantly longer than to the first 2 volcanoes, 20 kilometers both ways. I made a full hiking time-lapse of the trail to the volcano. See the link in the description. Under-equipped and unprepared tourists suffered many injuries, mostly sprained and broken ankles. There were cases of hypothermia, and many travelers got lost and needed to be searched by the rescue team. On 18th of July, one hiker in his 60s lost consciousness and was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. That was the only death in the area, though it was said that this person died due to his previous illness, so it wasn't a death caused by the eruption per se. volcanic gases were accumulating near the cone, so authorities were closing the site frequently for safety reasons. Soon they started to close the access to the site at 6 p.m. every day until the eruption ended. Visiting this volcano felt different. I could feel the tremble underneath my feet. And for the first time, I didn't feel safe being relatively close to the volcano. I could feel its strength, and I was anxious that the cone might suddenly collapse, as it has happened in the past. Some unbelievably crazy people were photographed climbing an erupting cone, causing early close of the site that day by authorities. Also, despite all the warnings, many people were walking on the lava, not thinking about the fresh lava flowing underneath. I witnessed people standing in front of a high wall made from solidified lava, watching fresh lava appearing in the middle, and even warming their hands in the heat. Till this day, I am sincerely astounded that no one has died during all three eruptions. The volcano stopped on 8th of August 2023, producing approximately 16 million cubic meters of lava and covering an area of 1.5 kilometers square. By that time, we got used to having an active volcano every year, so when in October 2023, a swarm of earthquakes shook the ground again, the excitement was high. Not for long, though. Strong earthquakes made authorities to take strong measures, and all residents from the city of Grindavik have been evacuated. Nearly 4,000 people left their homes, but many did that even before the official evacuation, due to stress caused by the constant earthquakes. For some residents, being evacuated happened twice in their lifetime, as they used to live in Vestmannaeyjar and were evacuated exactly 50 years ago due to volcanic eruption. On November 14th, sulfur dioxide was detected in the air, suggesting that magma might be only a few hundred meters under the surface. Some areas sunk into the ground by about 1 meter. Huge cracks appeared in town, cutting roads and destroying buildings. All the roads leading to the town were closed. Construction of earth barriers were started around Svartsengi Power Station, which supplies around 30,000 people in hot and cold water as well as electricity. Few days after the evacuation, residents were led back to town for a few minutes to collect their valuables, with the escort and help of the police and rescue teams. Blue Lagoon, one of the biggest tourist attractions in Iceland, located very close to Grindavik, was closed for over a month and reopened 2 days before the eruption. Staff and guests were evacuated from the resort 1 to 2 hours before the event. After over a month of uncertainty, the volcano erupted only 4 kilometers northeast from Grindavik and even closer from Blue Lagoon. It was huge, 3.5 kilometer long erupting fissure. Initial lava flow was estimated at 1 to 200 cubic meters per second, making it the most powerful eruption in the last 3 years. Eruption ended 3 days later on 21st of December, covering an area of 3.7 kilometers square. 1 day before Christmas Eve, all restrictions were lifted, and residents were able to return to their homes for Christmas. The police chief in Sundhnukur advised residents to not stay in town around New Year's Eve due to land rising and new fissures appearing on the roads. Some people, however, decided to stay in Grindavik. On January 2nd, construction of protective barriers around the town began. Blue Lagoon reopened again on 6th of January, only to be closed again a week later. On January 10th, a worker fell into a deep crevice while working to repair it. Intense searches were conducted, but the man was never found and declared dead. On 13th of January, the town of Grindavik was evacuated again. In the morning on January 14th, volcanic fissure erupted only 450 meters from Grindavik. Around noon, another fissure erupted inside of protective barriers. The worst-case scenario happened when lava reached the town and 3 houses were burned. It seemed like the protective barriers successfully redirected at least some lava away from the town, but couldn't stop the fissure that opened inside the walls. Main road to Grindavik was also cut by lava. The eruption stopped after only 43 hours and was declared the smallest one. Unfortunately, due to the location of the fissures, it was also the most disruptive. Approximately 9 to 13 million cubic meters of magma erupted during the event, followed by a short but intense swarm of earthquakes. A new eruption started early in the morning on 8th of February. A 3-kilometer-long fissure erupted in the same area as the eruption from December last year. Blue Lagoon, which was reopened on 20th of January, was closed and evacuated again. After a few hours, lava has reached the road to Grindavik, the same road that was cut during the eruption in December, and the road to Blue Lagoon. Soon after, lava reached the water pipe, cutting 25,000 people off of the hot water and thus heating. Temperature at that time was as low as -14 degrees Celsius. After 30 hours, the hot water supply was repaired. Unlike in the previous eruptions on the peninsula, this one produced quantities of black ash mixed with steam. Eruption stopped the next day on 9th of February. It was similar to the eruption from December. Very powerful in the beginning, but quickly diminished. The eruption produced about 15 million cubic meters of lava, and the initial strength was 600 cubic meters per second. Unfortunately, even after the eruption stopped, it wasn't over. On February 10th, the new water pipe that bypassed previously damaged one burst under the lava, and residents were cut off from hot water and heating once again. The new pipe was laid on the lava after the road was fixed, which took about a week to finish. On the evening of 16 March, with a very short notice, a new eruption started between Hagafell and Stora Skogfell mountains. It was 3-kilometer-long erupting fissure, flowing in 2 directions. The first tongue of lava was moving towards Blue Lagoon and Svartsengi Power Station, which were quickly evacuated. And the second one was moving south towards protective barriers around Grindavik. Lava was moving at a speed of 1 kilometer per hour. The initial flow was estimated at 1100 to 1200 cubic meters per second. But similarly to the previous eruptions, it slowed down quickly. The eruption was very powerful, twice as strong as the previous one, and lasted for almost 2 months, but was diminishing rapidly after the first day. The volcano stopped on 9th of May, producing 34 million cubic meters of lava, and covering an area of 6.2 kilometers square. First 3 eruptions were all called tourist eruptions and were safe to visit. Hundreds of thousands of people have visited them and continue to visit the sites to this day. The last 4 eruptions, or the Sundhnukur eruptions, were not safe and from the beginning closed for hiking. Only authorities and a few journalists were allowed in the area. The mood around the eruptions changed from excitement for the first 3 to anxiety and sadness for the last 4. The shift was rapid, and there is great empathy for those who lost their homes and livelihood and suffered such stress and trauma. Special solutions were implemented to aid residents of Grindavik, and the government offered to buy off all of the residential properties. Major banks waived interest and indexation on housing loans for Grindavik residents for 3 months. First eruption in Fagradalsfjall was the longest and thus produced the biggest amount of lava. It wasn't the strongest though. Judging by the initial flow, the 4th Sundhnukur eruption was the strongest. Second strongest was the 3rd Sundhnukur eruption. The weakest of them all was the 2nd Sundhnukur eruption, but it turned out to be also the worst due to damages it caused. 3 houses were burned completely, and 120 buildings suffered damages, from which 53 was deemed totally damaged. Many cracks and fissures appeared in town. Hot and cold water pipes, as well as sewage pipes, were badly damaged. 2 roads were cut by lava, Road 43 to Grindavik and 426 to Blue Lagoon. There was one indirect death caused by volcanic activity in the area, and that was the worker who fell into the crevice. During the first 3 eruptions, which were open for hiking, hundreds of minor injuries occurred, mostly sprain and broken ankles. No flights were disrupted during all of the eruptions. As of the time of recording, June 2024, the Blue Lagoon continues to operate as normal, but every visitor needs to be warned about the possibility of sudden evacuation. The lava stopped less than 1 kilometer away from the spa, right behind the protective barrier. On 20th of March, 1 staff member had to be hospitalized due to gas poisoning. And the chief of the police said that maintaining the operations at the Blue Lagoon is scarcely justifiable due to risk of air pollution compromising public health. Svartsengi Power Station operates normally and is controlled remotely. The volcanic activity in Reykjanes Peninsula, especially the last 4 Sundhnukur eruptions, got a great extent of coverage in the foreign media. Unfortunately, most of the news were misleading and the scale of danger was exaggerated. That caused a big negative impact on tourism in Iceland, and the effects are strikingly visible as we speak. To clarify, there is no significant danger in Reykjavik or Keflavik, where the international airport is located. Town of Grindavik sits on lava that erupted from Sundhnukur around 2,350 years ago. In this part of Iceland, volcanoes seem to erupt every 1,000 years or so. As the tectonic plates pull apart, they do so in pulses of higher activity. These pulses create cycles of eruptions. Studying rocks in the region revealed 3 cycles of 1,000 years of inactivity, followed by eruptions that lasted for a few centuries. It seems like we've just entered a new active cycle. Reykjanes fires were a series of volcanic eruptions that happened between years 1210 and 1240. They happened roughly 800 years ago, and a series of eruptions that started in Fagradalsfjall in 2021 was called the New Reykjanes Fires. Scientists say that we may expect a series of relatively small and short eruptions over the coming years, if not decades. In Reykjanes Peninsula, magma accumulates under the ground on a larger area, and then erupts through fissures and cracks rather than cones. Thus, it might be hard to predict where the next eruption will happen exactly. Cautious predictions suggest that it's possible that even Reykjavik, the capital, may be affected if the eruptions move further east in the future, but luckily nothing suggests that so far. There is a constant influx of magma accumulating under Svartsengi Power Station, and the land is still rising, so scientists are quite sure that for the next few months we will experience a series of short eruptions happening every month or so. This cycle might last even for a few years, but it's impossible to predict that precisely. All residents of Grindavik are allowed back in town, and warning sirens were installed in the city and in the Blue Lagoon. Additionally, a dial-out system was implemented, sending text messages to all residents in case of emergency. Scientists say that a new eruption may occur with very short to no notice, as it has happened with the last eruption. So in case of emergency, the town and Blue Lagoon need to be evacuated immediately. Everyone enters the town at their own risk. Nevertheless, we've just entered a new and interesting era, and it's hard to predict how it will change the country in the long term. I will continue to follow the events as closely as possible. And with that being said, thank you for watching and see you next time.